Okay, so as you can see, here's my Aquaman figure. Now I wasn't too sure if I was gonna actually like do like a shot of like the figure that came with this one, but I just went ahead and decided to do it because I know I kind of particularly really wanted to stick with mine. You know, my favorite hero, Batman. You know, so but I just went ahead and decided to do this because when I got this Justice League Throne of Atlantis film, like I got the collectors. You know, like I used to do, like with the girth, because you see it has like Aquaman right down the side or Arthur Curry. Cause you know now he's gonna be in the film too as well, and they have Jason Momoa playing him. You know, in the film. You know, 'cause I know he was like in Conan. I know he was like in a Bullet to the Head, like the Conan remake, because he was actually Conan. You know, in the remake they have him in the role of Aquaman, Arthur Curry. But yeah, and this is also like the Blu-ray that came. You know, this is how it look. You know, like the cover. You know, as you can see, it has like Aquaman on it, Superman, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Batman. You know, they have them on the front of it. But yeah, this is like the little collector figure that came with it. As you can see right here, Aquaman came with Aquaman off the Curry, and I think he can be I just don't like the bottom, kind of they break so easy. You know, his arms and stuff probably could be moved and stuff, but I'm not gonna bother with it. But I just get like kind of close up on it, as you can see. So yeah, this is the Aquaman figure that came with the Justice League Throne of Atlantis, like the version I got of it, you know. All right, so yeah, this is my and it would have been cool if we had his trident though, like the weapon that Aquaman has. That would have been cool if we had that, but he didn't though. So yeah, this is a cool figure, just like the other ones, you know. But yeah, this is it. This is the Aquaman, you know, off the curve figure from the Justice League Throne of Atlantis, like Blu-ray or collection I have, you know, of it. And this is a JDS 4696. Alright. Hey, what's up? It's me, JDS 4696, and today I'm going to be giving a film review for Justice League Throne of Atlantis. And as you can see, this is the particular version I have of it. Now, when I originally got this, I did get like the actual like collector's edition, which came with the Aquaman figure, as you can see right in there. Aquaman. Well, his real name is yeah, off the curve, you know. Now I was always familiar with the Aquaman, like DC Comics superhero, but this is really my first time ever getting like a true, real good look at him, you know. But yeah, this film, Justice League, the Throne of Atlantis, it's basically like an origin tale about Aquaman, you know, how he found out who he was, how it turns out that he was like part like Atlantean and part human, you know, and the Atlanteans are like an underwater, like undersea race, you know, that supposedly really did exist, you know, like the so-called like ancient like underwater city known as Atlantis. It basically turns out that was really was true, but in this particular like DC comic world, you know, Atlantis is actually living and thriving under the water. You know, the people live and breathe under the water, and I think they can control like the animals and stuff with their mind and stuff. But I'll touch on all that in this film review, you know. So yeah, this will be my review for Justice League Throne of Atlantis. Well, this film it opens like with a submarine that is cruising like the Atlantic Oceans, and then it's attacked by what appears to be like human enemies. You know, they're under the water, so you know off the bat that seemed kind of odd. Cause I know like one of the pilots of the submarine is like, whoa, that looks human. You know, like they say it looks human. You know, like when the enemies were coming to attack the submarine, and they destroyed the submarine. Well, they didn't really destroy it, but they caused it like to crash and stuff. And all like the submarine like passengers, you know, where like the crewmates of the submarine all passed, you know, and died. So they had to send Cyborg himself. He is sent to investigate it. Like he learns about this incident while he's at Star's Labs, and he decides to go and investigate the incident. And it turns out that he finds out what it was. They had attacked, and it was like human-looking people. And it turns out that they were like part of like the Atlanteans race. The underwater like so-called like Atlantic City. It turns out that it really kind of does exist in some kind of form of another. But while Cyborg is investigating this incident, it turns out that like missiles were actually stolen from the submarine. So the enemies that attacked the submarine, you could tell that was the reason why they did attack it. They were after like the missiles that were stored in the submarine because the missiles were eventually stolen. So it turns out the missiles were stolen, and so on from there. And then you turn out later on that they was like planning to use the missiles, I think, to like help them like conquer like the I forgot what they call the surface dwellers, because they kind of have like this grudge or vendetta against like the surface dwellers. I'll touch on that later. But after that the film jumps to like Arthur Curry, and he's like at like a bar and stuff, and he's like drunk and everything, and he's getting over like the death of his father and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden he gets in a fight with these group of men, because he was looking at this lobster and he was about to eat it, but he had prevented them from like doing it, then he like a bar brawl starts, like, and then he starts fighting them and stuff. Then you can tell right there that he had like superhuman power and stuff, because he's throwing the men around and punching them, and they're all ganging up on him, but he's just throwing them off like they're nothing. So you can tell right there that he had superhuman strength. And even at one point, like one of the enemies, like one of the men in the bar, they tried to stab him with a knife, and it just broke off him. So you can tell that he was even indestructible to a certain extent. Now it goes on later on. He reveals himself that he always had these kind of powers and stuff, but he didn't know where they came from. So it turns out eventually he finds out that he was like part Atlantean and part human. His mother was actually from like the Atlantean race, which exists under the sea, and that's how he gained like those kind of abilities. But his father was actually a human male, who had just recently passed, because they even have like an origin story at one point, which shows like Arthur as like a little boy, and he is visited by this woman. I think that was either his mother or his sister at that point. I'm not mistaken, when he was a kid, they had showed like a little glimpse of that, which I thought was kind of interesting and cool, But eventually that's what the film is about. It's basically like an origin tale for Aquaman, because eventually the Justice League, they get back together, because there's some kind of conflict with them too as well. Because Cyborg mentions it kind of towards the beginning of the film that the Justice League no longer exists. But yet they do all come back together. They consist of like Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, the Flash, Shazam, the Green Lantern, and they had trouble getting Batman to join him, because he was kind of like having trouble, because like when they sent the Green Lantern to get him, like while he's in Gotham City, he was trying to take out like Scarecrow enemies, which I thought was a cool scene, and the Green Lantern got involved in him doing it, and he actually took out the enemies, like, because he was wearing like Scarecrow masks, because he was like the Scarecrow henchman, but it was a Scarecrow himself, And Batman was kind of mad about that with Green Lantern. He told him like stay out of his way and stuff like that. Now that's one thing I do notice about these Justice League films too. I'll probably touch on that another time. Like how the way they kind of like the way they dress Batman. It's kind of different from where he is like in his own solo films, which I like a lot. He's my favorite superhero. But they eventually get like Aquaman to join them, because eventually all of them group together and they go like underwater, and find out why the missiles were stolen from the submarine. And it turns out that they were actually plotting to like have a battle with the surface dwellers, which are like humans and stuff, and that's where the Justice League is at too, up above land, on land, not under the water and stuff. So the Atlantis, they eventually get Arthur Curry to come and check them out as well, because he even goes down there under the water with the Justice League. After like a battle they have, where like Arthur is at home, enemies from like Atlantis come up and try to take him out, but then he is like saved, by like I think it's his sister. I think that was. I'm not mistaken. I forgot. She helps him like fight off the enemies, and the Justice League come as well, and that's when they go underwater to Atlantis, and Arthur meets his mother for the first time, But then she's eventually, I'm not going to spoil it. Something eventually happens to her as well, But she claims that it's his birthright to be the king of like of Atlantis, if I'm not mistaken. But he's against it, of course, because he didn't really know anything about Atlantis. Like the usual thing, But eventually he accepts his role as like I think like the king of Atlantis, because he even gets like his traditional like superhero or clothes of Aquaman, like the orange shirt like green pants, and he even has like his trident. Like you see right on the cover, you know, he actually gets that uniform. But it actually has like a helmet too as well, but he actually takes it off though, you know, out of like frustration. But it turns out like his half brother is also there, and he's known as Orm. Now Orm resents their mother and stuff, and at one point, like I said, he commits like a tragic event against her, which I'm not going to explain. I don't want to spoil it, you know. And it turns out that he's like actually like the enemy of the story, you know, and he has like a vendetta against the surface dwellers, you know, people on land and stuff. And that's what the film is basically about. After like finding out that he had these abilities, well, he always knew he had these abilities, you know, but then he finds out that he was part Atlantean and part human, and thus he accepts the role, you know. And eventually, it's not to the end of the film where he's actually called Aquaman. They actually named him that because he said, "Oh, I hate that." So basically, like this Justice League film is Throne of Atlantis. It's like it's an origin tale for Aquaman, and plus, you know, it's about him actually have to take out Orm, who is his after is like Aquaman's half brother, you know, at the same time, you know, because he has a vendetta against the surface dwellers, you know. So that's basically what the film is about. At the plot point, he has to team up with the Justice League to help take an arm out, you know. Now I thought this was cool, and this is really like my first. I seen like another one known as War, but I saw it with like a person I knew or whatever, you know, I saw it with him. But this is really like my first time really jumping into like the Justice League films, cause I didn't really want to look at all of them like combined. I just always prefer like on like Batman, you know, by himself, you know. But now I decided to jump into those as well, you know. But yeah, you have like all of them, you know. I know they kind of change and stuff too as well. I know at times I think they have like Green Arrow and stuff like that, but he's not in them this time, you know. But it consists of the Justice League in this film consists of Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Cyborg, Shazam, Green Lantern, and Batman, you know. Then you have like Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, they show up as well too, you know. And I thought this was a fun film, you know. They had like some cool like battles, you know. Like with Aquaman with Arthur and stuff, or the Justice League. I don't think Batman got that much like fighting scenes, you know. But he was in it though, you know. But he has like this imposing presence that I've been noticing like in the Justice League films, you know. I can see why people probably don't even like him, you know. Cause I know like in his films he's not really like that, but like in these, you know, he's like that, you know. He's kind of menacing and has like an attitude, you know. He's like very like, you know, almost kind of like mean, you know, but it's cool though, you know. But I thought like the animation for this film, just as always, like in the DC Universe original films, you know, it's superb. It looks like just beautiful. Like the animation for it, you know, I mean, they just did a real good job, in my opinion. Like on the animation, you know, it's just awesome, you know. Kind of like it was like scenes, like it was like one scene where Arthur, he's actually able to like, you know, control like animals with like telekinesis, because he can call animals, you know, to do what he wanted to do. And he called it this huge shark. I think it was like a megalodon, you know, but it had to be like a great white, but it looks like a megalodon to actually attack like arms, like forces, like, you know, his half brother arm to attack his forces. You know, that was kind of towards the end of the film. I thought that was cool. And Superman, he had some cool action scenes to it as well. You know, he's fighting like this huge underwater monster and stuff. And he actually had to move, like push like the ground, like which was underneath, you know what I'm saying? I thought that was kind of, you know, that was kind of cool too. But the animation, like I said, it's just superb, you know. And it's a very violent film too as well as usual, you know. It's like you have like beheadings, like and stuff. And it's like a lot of blood in it as well too, you know. Now the people that did like I'm not familiar with a lot of these people, but the ones that did like the voices for Aquaman, off the curve, you have a Matt Lanter, and I thought he was kind of cool, you know. You have Summer Lee Mathano as Mira. You have Jerry O'Connor as Superman, you know, Clark Kent. You have Jason O'Mara as Batman, Bruce Wayne. And this Batman that was in this film, it's the same one. I think that was in the other ones that I be hearing too, but I know he was in like The Son of Batman and Batman vs. Robin. He looks just like that Batman. I think that was the same person. Then you have Rosario Dawson as Wonder Woman. Then you have Christopher Gorham as the Flash, Barry Allen, and it's the Barry Allen Flash. You have Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern, and it's Hal Jordan Green Lantern. You have, Shamar Moore as Cyborg, Victor Stone, Sean Astin as Shazam. You know what I'm saying? You have George Newbern as Steve Trevor, Steve Blum as Lex Luthor. It's a lot of like people. I'm not too familiar with all of them, but I do know some of them, you know. And like the director of this film is Ethan Spalding. But yeah, that's another thing. Like I said, I just want to touch on. I thought this was a good film. It was fun, you know. And I'm not too big, but now I have been watching them. You know, like I've been on the Justice League films now. I think this is you know what I'm saying, I didn't always, I wasn't really a fan of like watching all of them together, you know, but now I done jumped into them, you know, and I thought this was pretty entertaining. It was kind of cool seeing all of them together, you know, but I do notice how Batman seems different in these films versus like his own solo projects, you know, which I'm a huge fan of, you know. But again, like I said, the main thing that really stands out is just like, from my opinion, like the superb animation in these DC like universe films. It just looks beautiful. Like the animation, it's just awesome. It's cool to me, you know. I just think it just looks so good. Like the animation, I'm serious. But yeah, this is my review for Justice League Throne of Atlantis.